You know, politicians are opportunists first and last, and they see your party as another platform because most of them were from the Congress. Now they'll come to your party, they will win from there. Next time, if the Congress is resurrected, they will go back to the Congress. We've seen that happen. So how do you, do these people care for ideology?
This is the culture of politics that we see in Meghalaya. But what we're trying to do as a party, we are making efforts, to put things together. We cannot just open the door for every one of them. We have to see. We have a process of identification and selection. And we want people who are sincere. We want people who are committed with sincerity of purpose to work together collectively.
So then why are you distancing yourself from the NPP now?
Those at the helm of affairs, those having the larger number, they try to dictate matters. They try to dictate matters as far as the functioning of the government is concerned.
Hello viewers, today we have with us in the Upfront program noted politician, academic, former activist and General Secretary of the UDP or the United Democratic Party, Jemino Mawthoh. He was former MLA also, and he will be contesting the elections in 2023 yet again. So Jemino, this time the United Democratic Party has decided to go it alone. Why? This is, let me finish the question, this is very confusing for the voters because your agenda in 2018 was different from that of the NPP or the National People's Party. Yet you worked together for over 4 years. So why have you suddenly decided to go it alone?
Thank you, Pat, for having me on this show. Well, this time around we thought that, the UDP can make a difference. Unlike in the past years, in the past decades, when we have not been able to perform to that extent where we can be at the helm of power. So all the time we have been labeled as Team B. If during the Congress regime also we had been labeled as Team B, and this time around also we had been labeled as Team B. So we thought, why not go it all alone this time? Because if you look at the political developments in the state of Meghalaya as of now, I think it is favoring the UDP. And I think as a party, we are also, doing quite well this time.
So when you say Team B, what exactly do you mean? Do you mean you do not have all the powers that the first party or the leading party has as part of the government? Don't you have equal powers? Don't your ministers enjoy equal powers as the ministers from the NPP or the PDF? If you want to make a difference, you surely can.
See, being in a coalition government, the relationship is very complex. It is not that we are not trying to drive our point home when it comes to issues and agendas of the party, but sometimes it becomes difficult, if the numbers are small. Once upon a time, the UDP, that was way back in the year 1998, we could muster around 20 seats. But then I do not know why, even at that point of time also, we were not able to hold the government. And we have seen also, if we look at the politics as far as Meghalaya is concerned, we have always had a fractured mandate.
Yes.
And we have never had, rarely to get a party with absolute majority. So we have to make do and be part of the government and also try to maintain the check and balance in the functioning of the government.
Isn't this the inherent contradiction among regional parties? Because you stand for the regional voices, for the people of the region. The PDF claims to do the same. HSPDP claims to do the same. Why is it so difficult to come together?
I think this time around it's going to change. It's going to change. We have made efforts in the past also for bringing all the regional parties together so that we can have a strong, formidable regional force in the state. We have tried this exercise many a time, but we were not able to bring all the parties together because they have their own ideology, they have their own party principles and party organization. But this time around, I still remember Dr. Don Kupar Roy, late Dr. Don Kupar Roy, once told me, he said, but Jemino, what is important is we need to just strengthen one party only. And what he said at that point of time, now it is happening. So now we find that the UDP is getting support from everywhere. And with the disintegration of the Congress, and then the non-acceptability of the people as far as the new parties are concerned, and the dwindling of the support for the smaller parties, it looks as if like, this time around, UDP is emerging as a very strong, regional force in the state. And with the coming together of many other, elected representatives from other political parties, this is also a sign, like, that we are being drawn together, to have one regional party, one regional force in the state.
When you talk of politicians coming to any party, politicians are opportunists first and last, and they see your party as another platform, because most of them were from the Congress. Now they'll come to your party, they will win from there. Next time, if the Congress is resurrected, they will go back to the Congress. We've seen that happen. So how do do these people care for ideology?
This is the culture of politics that we see in Meghalaya. But what we're trying to do as a party, we are making efforts, to put things together. And it is not that even though now, elected representatives from other political parties also are inclined to join a party, we cannot just, we cannot just open the door for every one of them. We have to see, we have a process of identification and selection. And we want people who are sincere, we want people who are committed with sincerity of purpose to work together collectively for the, for the state as a whole, for the people in the state as a whole.
So one thing that the public has been reminding the UDP is that you have a separate manifesto from the NPP. So you should have worked for a common minimum program so that your promises to the people in your manifesto also get addressed along with that of the NPP. But we have not seen that common minimum program, and the public tends to assume that you are going along with the NPP ideology, including its proximity to the BJP. So then why are you distancing yourself from the NPP now?
I'm glad that you've asked this question. In fact, there was a lot of talk when, different political parties came together under the banner of the MDA, that, we should have a common minimum program. In fact, I think there were 2 meetings that was held, and then the task was entrusted to one of the leader of the UDP, to take this forward. But even though when the preparation was done, for the common minimum program, meeting was never called again. Meeting was never called. That's why I'm saying, those at the helm of affairs, those having the larger number, they try to dictate matters. They try to dictate matters as far as the functioning of the government is concerned. We are quite disheartened and disillusioned because we thought that, even if we are together as coalition partners, I think that mutual respect has to be there, and we need to pool our heads together and think about what are the issues of concern, the priority issues and agendas for the people and the state of Meghalaya. But unfortunately, meetings were never held, and that common minimum program also never happened, and it never took off.
So this time when you go to the people with your manifesto, what if people ask you, have you addressed what you promised the last time? I mean, how much of that has been addressed? How much of that has been left unaddressed?
See, to be very frank,
or what other, let us, ask this question. what is it that was common between you and the NPP? Because you all seem to get along very well. In fact, it's the BJP which is always trying to pull a fast one in the MDA government. The UDP has been a steady partner. So, is it that you are inclined or you agree with the whole governance of the MDA government?
It is not like that, Kongpat, but right from the beginning, if you remember, we had made a point very clear that we put a lot of emphasis on unity and stability. How many governments have we had in the state of Meghalaya right from 1972? I think more than 22 or 23 governments. And the span of these governments is hardly 18 to 22 months.
Yes.
So it has really hampered, development in the state of Meghalaya. It has really hampered handicap development in the state of Meghalaya. So we thought that, we need to have a stable government and we need to be together. Differences are there, of course. Time and again, we have differences, and you must have seen, time and again, we are at loggerheads. And that is because of the issues which we feel that, we have to make a stand. Like, for instance, we took a stand as far as the issues of MECL is concerned. We took a stand as far as the age relaxation is concerned. We took a stand on many other issues like the border dispute and all that. See, we are together in the government.
Are you agreeable with the border resolutions?
See, fact of the matter is that we need to be appreciative also of the effort made on the part of the MDA government. They have taken the border issue one step ahead. In fact, if you recall, it was during the time of the first president of the UDP, late Mr. E.K. Mawthoh, who had taken the initiative when he had this dialogue with the then Chief Minister, Mr. Prafulla Kumar Mahanta. And as far as the border issue is concerned, how many deliberations have been held between Assam and Meghalaya? 20 meetings at the level of chief secretaries, 10 meetings at the level of chief ministers, but it never really materialized. But this time around, the MDA government has gone one step ahead, forming those regional committees and then trying to settle this long pending dispute that has been there. But the only thing is this: from our side, although we appreciate the efforts made on the part of the government, but when there was some kind of problems that has emanated in the border areas, this has been sounded by the border residents of those areas, those 6 areas of differences. There were some problem areas. So we told the government of the day that we need to revisit. This is an ongoing process, so we need to do it properly. We need to also look from the point of view of the different stakeholders. Okay, and then so that we can take this forward, because in the second phase, we need to again do this exercise. Now, in the first phase, if there are bottlenecks, if there are hurdles, we have to, we really need to thrash it out. So, although we agreed on a lot of things as far as the border dispute is concerned, but on certain matters, when there were reactions from the border residents, so we told the government of the day, we need to revisit those areas. I said, there's nothing wrong to revisit, because this issue has been pending for so many decades altogether. So what is wrong if we have to
Also, there is a strong push from Delhi to resolve these matters, I think, amongst the states.
Yes.
So with this government is always looking at a deadline. So,
no, that is fine. But what is wrong with revisiting? I don't find anything wrong with revisiting. I mean, that is
provided
the
other
party.
Side agrees.
Yeah. And they should agree also.
After all, it's a bilateral talk.
Bilateral. And, we are not just trying to, bulldoze everything on our part. But I think that mutual respect has to be there.
So how do you assess the performance of the departments held by the UDP ministers? For instance, home and education, both of which have been in the news for the wrong reasons. You had the teachers' strike, then in the home department you had that encounter that led to the killing of Cheristar Thankhew. The report is not yet made public or partially made public. Then you have the social welfare department, where you had that rice scam. The report is not yet out. And today we see that the chief minister is saying he will give the inquiry reports to the MLAs, as if the public has no right to those reports. So how do you assess this? Do you think that the performance of these two ministers is likely to hamper the performance of the UDP in the next elections?
See, Compat, we have to understand that we are part and parcel of this government. So whether we have to take the credit or we have to take the blame, I think all of us are equally responsible as a government. Mm-hmm. And as far as those issues are concerned, which has, really affected the party, the rank and file of the United Democratic Party, from our side also, let me tell you that we are not trying to shield anybody. I feel that the party is over and above individuals. And as far as the performance of the ministers from representing the UDP in this government, there are plus and there are minuses also. Mm-hmm. We cannot say that they are not performing. They are also performing. But let us take, for instance, the education sector. Education has been in doldrums for so many decades altogether. And we've seen the kind of problems that has emanated from time to time because of we have not been able to streamline the functioning of the education sector in a proper way. And now, to change things overnight, it is not easy. It is not an easy task. Effort is being made on the part of the minister concerned, but we also need to also look into the financial aspect also with relating to the education sector.
It's true that these are issues that have accumulated over the past several decades.
Yeah, past successive governments also, they have faced, this kind of a problem. So what we're thinking is that, okay, what has happened, but we need to introspect. And what is important now is maybe to have an education commission which will streamline the functioning of the education sector in the state of Meghalaya. You look at Shillong.
We've heard about that education commission. Has it come up? Has it started identifying people, or is it just another talk?
I'm not really aware about that. But let me tell you this, that if we come to power in 2023, we are surely going to do this.
No, but what prevents you from pushing for that now? Since education minister is from the UDP, I think there has to be a push on this very critical issue.
We have been doing this, ma'am. We have been doing this. It's not that, we're keeping quiet over this issue, because it has really affected the image of the party also. So affected the image of the party, and we want to do something, look for something which can bring about some kind of solutions, because we feel that the education sector should not be like this.
Yes.
We are known to be an educational hub,
yes.
A knowledge city, Shillong, for instance, a center of education. Students from all over the Northeast, from other parts of India also, they come to this place. Now, what happened to this very important sector? We have not been able to.
Don't you think also that we have come to a point where we need to analyze what are the pitfalls that have led to the decline of education in this capital city, in the whole state?
Yeah, that is very true. I think we need to do kind of a
reality check, because without
analysis also about
without understanding the pitfalls, how do we improve?
Yeah, but I still think that we can do it. Provided, we bring the different stakeholders together, and we need to solicit views and opinions, from learned people who have experience, as far as the education sector is concerned. Then if we pull our heads together, I think we'll be able to, bring about a change, the much needed change in the education.
This time in the CUCET, exams, which is for entrance into the university. States like Nagaland have asked for exemption, but Meghalaya did not ask for exemption as far as CUCET is concerned, which is university level. And from what we hear, the performance is very, very poor, and many of our own students from here are not able or will not be able to enter university. because we were not prepared. So there was an expectation that just as exemption was asked for CUET, so in the same way, CUCET also would be exempted, but it didn't happen.
Exemption for CUET was asked only for the affiliated colleges of in Meghalaya, but not for Northeastern Hill University, the Central University. And having said this, I feel that we need, it's about time that reforms should come in as far as education is concerned, because right from 1986 we've not there has not been any change.
No, we need reforms, but we don't need instant.
No, but see, with reforms,
students have to be prepared also.
Prepared. But interestingly, as far as the university is concerned, although yes, some of them have done well, some of them have not done well also, but it is a beginning. It is a beginning for these students. But what we did as far as the university is concerned is that in addition to the score that they're getting from the CUET score, that 400 total, university also has taken a decision to add another 10% to the score.
That was there from the past also.
That was there from the past, but that was only 10 points. But this time around, it is 10%. So if it is 10%, that means it will be an added weightage of 40 points. So that itself will help the students, and it's also opening, opportunities for students to compete, across the country, so that they can also, if they want to be admitted in the different institutions in the country, also they can.
No, the point is that we are not on an equal footing. We are not on an equal footing. Maybe for the students in Shillong City, it's fine, but Jowai, Nongstoin, other colleges, it's a bit of a tall order for them.
Very true, but
see, the point is that there is no foresight from the education department. Perhaps if there was that committee, that committee could have given these suggestions. So anyway, let's come to another point, which is the assembly dome collapse. The speaker is from your party. He's the president of your party, and so directly or indirectly, he is the supervisor of that whole construction process. Why is it that there is an attempt to bury everything that happened about the dome collapse? Okay, we understand Guwahati IIT was called, but there is a sense that government is not really willing to be open to the whole thing, to sort of put accountability on certain people and the contractors. There's a public feeling that the attempt is to do a cover-up. And the UDP might have to pay a price for that.
Well, people may look at it that way, unfortunately, but let me tell you, I have sat with the speaker several times, and then I also know that he has been working very hard for the completion of this assembly building, because we have not been able to do that for so many years. And he was very positive that, for the winter session, that, the first session will be in the new constructed assembly building. But it never happened, unfortunately, because of the collapse of the dome. Because of the collapse of the dome. Then we tried to find out what is the reason. So the speaker has told us that there is there are the committees who looks after the construction and all the wherewithals and all that. But when this happened, so who is to blame?
Yes.
He gets the blame. But he was very, infuriated last time when this thing happened. He did not expect that this thing will happen. But since the work has been entrusted, to the committee members, and all of them also have been doing their work. But unfortunately, I don't know, something must have gone wrong.
So this is the problem with Meghalaya, accountability. There's, the buck has to stop somewhere, but it never stops anywhere. So we carry on, and this lack of accountability then makes people more
That trust is
emboldened.
not there.
No,
not
those
there.
people who are in the business, in the dirty business, get more emboldened.
That is true. That is very true.
Let us now come to the inner line permit. Now, as elections draw near, you will hear a lot of hue and cry. The pitch will grow on the demand for the ILP. Let me ask your personal feelings and the feelings of your party about the ILP. Has there been a proper analysis of the pros and cons? Are there more positives than negatives or vice versa?
There has been a number of deliberations, not only at the party level, but even in the state also. Different groups have been deliberating, even the academia also, about the inner line permit, about the pros and cons. But when you look at what is going on now, as far as the state is concerned, everyone is singing the same chorus. Even the state assembly also, the whole lot of them, all the 60 MLAs, have passed a resolution in the assembly that we want ILP. Inner line permit has to be implemented in the state of Meghalaya.
Isn't that populist? Isn't that more populist than than pragmatic?
Yeah, in one way it is, you can say. But see, you also have to understand the concerns of the different groups that are there in the state of Meghalaya. We have been talking about the issue of influx and illegal immigration for so many years altogether. So many years altogether. There have been agitations, there have been upheavals, but there has not been any, solution. Okay, so maybe it is because of this only that the different pressure groups also are demanding that ILP needs to be implemented. But as far as I'm concerned, I feel that we'll have to look for a more effective mechanism. I'm not saying that
technologically advanced solutions.
See, you look, for instance, if you look at the role and functioning of the traditional institutions, they have been very effective in that way for checking the coming in and the going out of people and so on and so forth. I represent this locality, Nongrim Hills. I'm also part and parcel of the Dorbar, and I know how the Dorbar also has been functioning. So the government needs to work in tandem with these traditional institutions, with the different groups that are there, so that we can bring a more effective mechanism. I'm not saying that whether ILP is good or bad, but since now everyone is singing the same chorus about ILP. So, but I think we need to examine this and see for a more effective mechanism, which we can apply in the state of Meghalaya. I'll just give you an example. If you remember during this pandemic, the entry-exit point, what happened to that? There was a gate, but people can come in by.
It was managed quite effectively, in fact.
Yeah, but then later on, what happened? People who give money can enter.
Yes.
The moment they enter, where do you? How do you trace them?
How do you trace?
So that is what I'm trying to say. Even if we have the ILP in place, also, we have to have proper mechanisms. Also, people coming inside the state, how do we locate them? How do we trace them? How do we, that is very important. So I feel that we need to have a more effective mechanism, and I feel that as stakeholders, we need to deliberate on this and see what is the best mechanism that we can evolve, for the interest of the people of the state.
Why is it that no time, there's never any time given for such deliberations?
That you have to ask the government, those at the helm of affairs.
No, but as a political party, shouldn't you be giving a push, to these critical issues, that there has to be a committee or a commission or whatever that can come up with a proper format?
That is very true.
A framework, otherwise it becomes talk, just a talk shop.
That is very true, because we have been, talking about this issue
for decades.
For decades altogether.
Without any paperwork.
Without any paperwork, and no, we do not see solutions also. So
let me come now to the railways. So there are a lot of people who speak to us in the media because they think we can be their voice. And they tell us, and these are not just non-tribals, a lot of tribal traders have also said, why is the government not talking to us as well about the railways? Why is it talking only to a pressure group and getting cornered by that pressure group? We have to tell the government that we would stand to gain more if there is, if the railhead comes closer to Meghalaya, because then the prices of essential commodities will come down. So why is it that governments, past and present, are held stranglehold by one pressure group or two pressure groups?
See, ma'am, let me tell you that everyone will agree that connectivity is very important. We cannot live in isolation. We need to connect with the rest of the country. We need to connect with the rest of the world. Connectivity is very important. But as far as the railway issue is concerned, let me tell you, because I've also been engaged in deliberating with these different pressure groups that are there in the state of Meghalaya. Why is it they are so averse, to the coming of the railway head? It is because they do not have the trust in the government. They have been demanding to implement the inner line permit. They have been demanding for bringing out, coming up with a mechanism for checking illegal immigration. Because of this, the trust is not there in the government, so they will not, at this point of time, welcome the railway line.
But at what cost? At what cost?
Yeah.
Because you will admit, especially if you talk to the poor, and the poor are growing in Meghalaya. At the moment, about 37% or maybe more. There are so many single mother-led households. They can barely make it from hand to mouth, and the prices of essential commodities is just, rising, escalating. And nobody is thinking of a way out. We know that the transportation costs are very high for Meghalaya. So, can't there be a check and balance here?
See, what is important is the approach that the government has to take up. What kind of an approach to reach out to these different stakeholders? I think that is very, very important. If you know how to approach, I think they will also, understand about the problems faced by the state. And like rightly pointed out by you, that the coming of the railways also will benefit the poorer sections of the society, of the state. But if the government has not addressed some of the pertinent issues concerning the state, there will always be stiff opposition. And anything that is done, if you try to bulldoze your way through, it is not going to work. We have seen that. Happening in the past also. So what is important is that we need to reach out to these different groups, talk with them, sit with them, make them understand, the importance of the coming of the railways, but at the same time also give them the assurance that the government also should take up the other pertinent issues relating to influx and illegal immigration.
Should be a give and take of sorts.
It should be like that. It is not that, because that trust is not there.
Now let's look at the UDP manifesto, because I'm sure you will have to go back to the people with a manifesto. A manifesto is a promise to the people that you're going to do A, B, C, D in the next 5 years. So what do you have in mind to keep in that manifesto? The issues in the area of healthcare, in the area of education, in the area of especially roads and bridges. We've seen in this government, or during the phase of this government, that the road infrastructure has been very badly affected. Some areas have been repaired, but the large sections of the region, especially Garo Hills, now Jaintia Hills, yesterday one person took 4 hours to reach Shillong because of the very poor condition of the roads. Why has there not been any attention paid to the roads? So will that be part of your manifesto? Then agriculture. The state of agriculture is not in very good health, not in very sound health. And if you have an agriculture policy, we don't see that being really implemented the way it should, because our farmers are still very poor. Then what about a long-term economic vision? Without an economic vision, it's very difficult for a state to get anywhere. Do you have that in mind? Are you going to have a brainstorm over that? In fact, over the whole manifesto preparation?
In fact, ma'am, from the party, they have entrusted me to
Come up with a
come up with
manifesto.
the manifesto. I'm engaging some people, to get their views also as far as the manifesto of the party is concerned.
I forgot to mention unemployment, yes.
See, ma'am, if you look at a state, okay, there are policies in place. But we also need to think about what kind of action has been taken by this government and even past successive governments also. I think we need to look into all those aspects also. It is not that government of this day also has not tried to address, the issues relating to health, issues relating to education, issues relating to the power sector, issues relating to the farming community, issues relating to road infrastructure, and so on and so forth. It is not that. And if you look at the mission mode of the government also, they have tried. If you talk about, you had mentioned about, women, childcare, health, safe motherhood. I think government has earmarked also, some money for the for activities and programs relating. In fact, when we talk about institutional delivery, that has also increased by 13%. And if you talk about roads,
yes,
if you look at the budget speech made by the chief minister, he said that almost every day in this current year, 2 kilometers of road is being constructed.
But what kind of roads?
Yeah,
it's the quality of the roads that we have to be asking about.
So these efforts are being made. And then if you talk about education, infrastructure, upgradation of so many schools also is there in the offing. And but having said this, I feel that we need to do a lot more. We need to do a lot more. We need to see. We need to really see how do we measure these outcomes?
How do you measure?
Okay, implementations are there. You're trying to do. We have a sizable youth population in the state, since you've mentioned about the youth, and some programs have been launched also by the government. Programs like Prime, programs on Skill Meghalaya, and so on and so forth. But how far has it really benefited the youth? If you talk about the sizable youth population that we have in the state.
That is where we come to measurable outcomes.
Yes.
Maybe it's time you have
an
independent agency to measure, so that you can also take, effective measures to remedy whatever is gone wrong.
It's very important,
because
ma'am, like you said.
If we look at health, we have to admit that a lot has been done for the health sector, but that is also primarily because you have a health bureaucracy that is very committed to delivering these goods, So we have to admit that in some of the areas, this government has done well. And I would like to say that the health department has really tried, but then there is so much of backlog. So
I think we need to do a lot more. As a public representative working with the people all my life, I can really understand the pain and agony that families have to go through, because of
lack of access.
Lack
of access to healthcare. You go to villages like Sder, where people have to climb up those stairs. Those sort of villages are still there in Meghalaya, which is unfortunate.
I remember there was a time when I was part of this committee, the budget committee. We had visited one CHC in Ribhoi area together with Dr. Didi Lapang at that time. And we were surprised. There was this, X-ray machine which has become dysfunctional for so many months. And there is no effort made to even repair the.
Yes.
Then we told them, we said, see, people in that area, they will have to come to Shillong for the X-ray.
Yes.
And think about the costs coming and going.
In most government establishments, they don't work.
Yes. So these health infrastructure facilities and all that, I think we need to really improve, because I've seen people dying in agony. I've seen people really suffering because of health issues. So I feel that, like you said, when government implements programs and activities, we also need to measure.
Yes.
It is not. It should not be a kind of a wishy-washy, doing things only from the surface. But what is important is to really look. What is the outcome? What is the outcome? What is the
Yes.
output?
Yes.
What is the achievements?
How much of the investment has gone and
gone
what
in,
has
and
what is the result?
That is very, very important.
So before coming here, we had asked a lot of people for their views also as to what are the questions they would want to ask the UDP. One prime question they have said is, why can't you reform the planning board, the state planning board? It has a very major role to play. And yet we don't see any outcome again. It's just a board. Many of these government committees, commissions and all, they're all lethargic. They're not doing anything, but they exist, and you spend money on them to pay salaries to those chairpersons and all.
Very true, ma'am. I feel that planning board is a very important.
Why can't you keep people who are experienced, economists and strategists and all?
Let me tell you, I have also been offered to be the co-chairman of the state planning board, but then I declined because I felt that it was not really doing its work that it should be doing. And I feel that in Meghalaya we have so many who can really contribute, their ideas, their experience,
and
in
their
shaping
their ground understanding.
Yeah. So in similar line, like you have the Niti Aayog, I think you should also have a body like this. If not the planning board, give it a different name, so that this will be a committee which will try to give their views and opinions as far as transformation of the state is concerned. In a similar line, like the Niti Aayog for transforming India, why not have an institution for a committee who will think about transforming the state of Meghalaya?
But Jemino, we have almost reached the end of our discussion here. There are many more issues that I would have liked to to sit and discuss with you. For instance, the illegal coal mining, which I think needs to be resolved, and maybe you need to open up the coal mining area so that you earn enough revenue to put into education, to put into other areas like sports, for instance, which needs a lot of emphasis. So can you give me a short response to that?
See, ma'am, I think what is important for our state is that we need to have a good fiscal policy. We need to plug the loopholes as far as revenue realization is concerned. We say that we have the resources in the state of Meghalaya, but we have failed to manage the state. So as far as the issues of illegal coal mining, transportation is concerned, I mean, there has been a lot of talk, and even UDP also has to take the blame because UDP is also part of the government. But like you said, we need to regulate. People has to live. We need to think about the livelihood of the people also, the chain right from the mining areas up to Beltola. People have been living from, but importantly also it's how you,
also take care of the environment.
That is very important. Regulate scientific mining, that is important, but at the same time, revenue. For the state of Meghalaya. Ours is a small state. Ours is not an income generating state. So we cannot just depend on the doles of the government of India all the time. We need to come up. We need to come up, and this is where we need to think, we need to think what is the best way forward for the people and the state. So we are not only talking about leadership, we're talking about how do we manage the state. That is very, very important.
But leadership also comes in there. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. Viewers, you have listened to Jemino Mawthoh, UDP General Secretary, and also the candidate from what we call the Nong Thamai constituency. And we have had a long discussion. We ask the viewers to please give their views, their suggestions if any, and help us improve this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.